hey there, and good evening, and I hope you're doing well. I haven't seen you in a while. Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit the like button on this video. And we'd love to have you as a subscriber to this channel. If you haven't subscribed already, believe it or not, the bulk of people who end up watching sort of, the channel and the videos are not subscribers. Like over 50% of people. I have no idea how you could watch the same channel again and again and again and not subscribe to it. So I just want to encourage you. It's a free little thing that you can do is scoot on over and hit the subscribe button to the channel. If you don't have notifications turned on already, that would be great. So I don't know. There's that. Let me know where you guys watching from. I'm so glad to see you. So glad to have you on tonight. Let's see who we have. Cheryl from St. Louis, Missouri. Philly in the house. Cleveland, Georgia. What's up, guys? Wake Forest, North Carolina, North Georgia. Great to have you guys. Hot Springs, Arkansas. It's a rainy night in Georgia. St. Louis, Missouri, St. Louis, and I'm subscribed. Thank you, Retta, for being subscribed. Salt Lake City, Utah, Arizona, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Toronto, Canada, South Africa, 3:47 in the morning. Thank you so much for tuning in all the way from South Africa at 3:47 in the morning. Lexington, Kentucky, Tennessee, California, New Orleans. What's up, everybody from Utah, Idaho, Tennessee, Hawaii, Seminole, Florida, New Jersey. Great to have you guys. Great to have all you guys with us today. Texas. I like the way that Marissa has spelled that. Miss Stewie says hello from Las Vegas, Illinois, Hawaii, Kissimmee, Florida. Great to have you guys. Did you miss me whenever we didn't have a stream yesterday? How'd you feel? Sorry we weren't able to have one. I just didn't have internet going, but I got it up and going today, and so able to do it. Phoenix, Denver, Colorado. Great to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you guys for tuning in. Again, like I said, if you haven't done so already, hit the like button on the video. And another thing you can do that's really helpful is if you do have Twitter, or like just share the stream link out on a tweet, or I actually made a tweet about it. You can go hit the retweet button on my tweet, or if you have a Facebook group that's sort of into this sort of topic, share this link into those Facebook groups. It helps get us out into the YouTube algorithm, sort of the more people that we have join. And I promise you, if you invite your friends to come be a part, of the channel, I promise you, we're going to treat them nicely. We'll handle them with care. And I think they're really going to enjoy it. And another thing, I'm seeing a lot of those purple flags turn to blue. And I forgot to join the Feller fam on my own channel. So I'm still a red flag. And it goes red, purple, blue, depending on how long you've been a member. So congratulations to everybody who's been a member of the Feller fam, and you have seen your flag turn from red to purple and now purple to blue. Thank you guys so much for being a supporter of the channel. It's hard for me on days that we don't have streams. And so thank you so much for being a supporter of the channel. And I'm so glad that we are back at it today. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about today. There's a lot that's been going on. So we definitely have a lot to talk about. Sort of the first subject I wanted us to dive into, because it's breaking news and we haven't even had time to cover it. Although Avery had sent me some information about it yesterday. I was planning to cover it yesterday, but we just really got in a situation where I wasn't able to. But it's this story of Kathleen Moore. And as you guys have been paying attention, there definitely was some breaking news in this case today that had apparently been going on for some time. So check out this story from 10tampabay.com. And they're in Pasco County, Florida, which, by the way, I've been to Pasco County, Florida, been to Zephyr Hills, Florida. It's all in this same sort of like region, and it's right outside of Tampa. Isn't it interesting that there's a whole lot of news coming outside of, like, right outside of Tampa right now? And so here you guys go.
Looking for Kathleen Moore. Her boyfriend is charged with second-degree murder. Our Angelina Salcido is live in Newport Richey with what we are learning about this investigation.
And we're going to get to Angie in just a second. There's a press conference going on right now. We, of course, will get you out there live as soon as we certainly can to hear from this press conference.
This is one of those things. It's just one of those things that, we're human beings. We did our best. We've done our best. We had drones up. We had deputies out there. We had canines out there. And it's one of those things. She is a very wooded area, covered up. Wind, weather, decomposition, those all play factors in a search. So I'll go back to it. It's everything in life works better when it's a team. And that plea to our citizens, we mean it. We want our citizens to work with us. And that's what happened. The citizens were out there working with us. And those dogs do a phenomenal job. But this is the facts of life. We have to work together as a team. And when we work together as a team, those are the things that came together. And we were able to find Kathleen. That was a critical part. But, I'm proud of the work our detectives did. The focus of the investigation actually was those dumpsters. 14 industrial-sized dumpsters. People were, remember, the evidence, the blood-stained clothing was in those dumpsters. We had to search all those dumpsters before they got taken off to landfills. We wanted to make sure that every piece of evidence, God forbid if Kathleen was in one of those dumpsters, that we found her before they were taken out of our community. That was a focus for us. There was no evidence that led us that she was going to be 50 yards into that wood line at the time. What was priority for us was getting into those dumpsters and making sure she was not in there. As horrible, as gruesome as that sounds, it's the truth. And that's what we had to focus on at the time. But as we go back, was that area going to be searched again? Yes, because we did our due diligence in those dumpsters. We were going to go back to other areas to keep searching. We know it was critical to find her. We know that it was critical to Bruce Bartlett's office at the state attorney's office to make sure that they get prosecution. And I know, and I heard people, how can you make that arrest? How can the state attorney get a warrant when there was no body? There was a lot of evidence. But we know finding her, 2 reasons. One, most importantly, is for her family. I can't imagine a family, one is knowing she's dead. But even worse is not knowing where she is. Second is to make sure we get prosecution, we get justice in this case. So I can understand that part where people say, I can't believe that, how can you not find her? It wasn't the focus at the time because all the evidence led us to believe she may have been in one of those 14 dumpsters.
Can you talk a little bit about the evidence, a little bit more about the evidence that you guys used to make?
And right now you are listening to a news conference with Sheriff Nacco where he is explaining what they found in this case. They have confirmed that the body found in Newport Richey is that of Kathleen Moore. Angelina Salcido, our reporter, is up there. She is following the story and will bring us updates. But as you heard from the sheriff right there, he talked about the 14 dumpsters that they went through looking for evidence that helped them charge her boyfriend with a crime. Again, the investigation continues. Her boyfriend, Colin Knapp, was in court today charged with second-degree murder. Now, according to the Pasco County Sheriff, Chris Nacco, the couple had an on-again, off-again relationship for the past 5 years. The sheriff says Knapp went to his job at Harold Seltzer's Steakhouse in Port Richey and brought clothes with him. The clothes were discovered at a landfill with blood on them. FDLE has matched that blood to Moore's.
So there you see Colin Knapp there, who was he was actually charged for homicide before they found the body. And I thought that was a really interesting sort of clue piece that they were putting together in this case. They're like, we definitely know this guy did it. We just don't know how he disposed of her body or whatever. And so this guy had been arrested and charged for homicide before they even found her body. And then today, obviously, was the breaking news of them finding the body. Here's another story from WFLA. And what I like about this from WFLA is that you see them from a helicopter standpoint, sort of going through some of those searches that we have been, so accustomed to them doing with the helicopters, it feels like over the past couple of months.
Investigators confirm they have found the body of missing woman Kathleen Moore. Her body was found near the home of her boyfriend, Colin Knapp. He has been charged with second-degree murder and was charged yesterday. 8 Interside's Jeff Patterson joins us now live in Newport Richey with today's big development. Jeff.
Good evening, Josh. Well, Sheriff Chris Nacco just spoke to us a short time ago, confirming that investigators have found the body of Kathleen Moore in a heavily wooded area behind her boyfriend's home. Today, Pasco County detectives and crime scene technicians spent the day searching for evidence inside of Colin Knapp's home. From Eagle 8 HD, we could see deputies in the woods behind Knapp's home. The sheriff's office says someone walking in the woods found the body of a woman there. Pasco County Sheriff Chris Nocco now confirming the remains found in the woods are those of Kathleen Moore.
I can say, she is deceased. Today, we positively identified her body based on tattoos.
As deputies were searching his home, Colin Knapp made his first appearance in front of a Pasco County judge.
You've been set at no bond in this case. Do you wish to have an attorney to represent you in this matter?
And Kathleen Moore's friends came to Knapp's home just to see for themselves what is going on.
It's unbelievable. Like it doesn't feel real.
Noelle Custodio says she first met Moore and Colin Knapp when they all worked at Applebee's together.
You just can't put into words how you feel. It's just, you want her to come home, but it's not, you're not going to hear her laugh anymore. She's not going to call you out on your BS, it's not going to happen anymore.
Samantha Knight says she is also here because she's a friend of Kathleen Moore and says it's just difficult to accept that she's gone.
Nobody deserves it, but especially somebody as sweet and nice and has such a good soul as her.
Sheriff Nocco telling us that when investigators found Kathleen Moore's body in that heavily wooded area, it appears there was a deliberate attempt to conceal her under heavy brush. And I just spoke to some of Kathleen Moore's friends out here a short time ago. They're obviously very upset by all of this, but they say at least this brings them closure.
I mean, it's heartbreaking. It definitely sounds like this Colin Knapp guy was the one responsible for it. I'm going to go take a look at that poll question and just see. I asked the question, is Kathleen's boyfriend guilty? Several hundred votes. 96% of you guys were saying, yeah, absolutely, it was him. And so I know for some of you guys, it was a new case that you're sort of unpacking or looking into for the first time. And appreciate you doing that and appreciate you looking into it. And to me, it's heartbreaking. There's nothing good about the case, but at least they're able to get closure. Like they said at the very end of that video, like at least the family, friends are able to get some closure. They understand where the body's at. They're able to make some more sense of it. And so I found that to be tiny, tiny, tiny bit of silver lining in all of it. At least they're able to get a little bit of closure on that. Have you guys been following Ethan Crumbley's parents' situation? Because they were given charges on Friday, which was, we did Faith Friday. We haven't talked about it, but there's just more and more and more that seems to sort of be unpacked from that situation.
A dramatic moment. Cops capture the fugitive parents of school shooter Ethan Crumbley hiding out in an artist's studio. Today, Jennifer and James Crumbley find themselves on suicide watch in the same county jail as their 15-year-old son. Their capture came after an intense manhunt.
Today, I'm announcing charges against the shooter's parents, Jennifer and James Crumbley.
2 hours after the prosecutor announced charges Friday, police say the Crumbleys checked out of a motel where they had been staying and withdrew $4,000 in cash from a bank. Then they asked a friend, Polish-born painter Andrzej Sikora, if they could come to his studio, located just half a mile from the Canadian border. I spoke with the artist's attorney, Clarence Doss.
Mr. Sikora didn't actually know about any of this and was just doing a favor, what he thought, for a friend.
It was everywhere that police were looking for the parents, and they were fugitives. How did your client miss that news?
He doesn't follow the news the way that most people in America may think he would.
The studio is in this converted warehouse. We found this tour of the building on YouTube.
There's painters, there's musicians, clothing lines, all kind of creative individuals. So it's a really cool space.
Here's the timeline of their capture. 5:30 p.m. Friday, U.S. Marshals post a $10,000 reward for each of the Crumbleys. Sheriff Michael Bouchard goes on 3 cable news networks and appeals for information. 10 p.m., police find their Kia SUV abandoned in downtown Detroit. 2 a.m. Saturday, a tip is phoned in, leading cops to the warehouse.
Do you think they were planning to go to Canada?
Obviously, we're a community that's close to Canada, where we found them and how we found them. leads me to believe that it wasn't immediately going to happen in terms of them turning themselves in.
The Crumbleys wept during their arraignment. They were ordered held on $500,000 bail each. Their attorneys claimed they were not on the run.
They were scared, they were terrified, they were not at home. They were figuring out what to do, getting finances in order.
Over the weekend, tears flowed in memory of the 4 young lives lost in the shooting spree at Oxford High School. There was tension in the air, and there was sudden panic at a vigil when somebody fainted.
Calm down! Everyone, calm down!
The Detroit Lions honored the lives lost at their game Sunday. It turned out to be the Lions' first win of the season.
Jennifer and James Crumbley have both pled not guilty.
So, I mean, there's several things that I think are worthy or worth noting in this story. One of them involves the artist. Now, do you think that the artist that was sort of hiding them out or letting them stay there did not know about any of this? Do you think that the artist was like totally out of the loop, as his attorney says that he was? Like, yeah, I didn't know anything was going on. I didn't know that their son had just done a school shooting, and I had no idea that they had just been given charges against them. And I didn't know that the U.S. Marshals were searching for them. I didn't know that there was $10,000 rewards on both of them. I had no clue. I was just helping some friends out. And then another thing that I sort of was thinking about, it's like, I'm not trying to judge or be stereotypical in any way, but when you read some of the things that you've read Jennifer Crumbley write, and I don't know much about James Crumbley, but Jennifer Crumbley definitely seemed to have a larger sort of online persona. When you look at some of that information, it's like, they don't really seem like the kind of people who are best friends with artists. So I would like to know a little bit more about that relationship between the artist and the Crumbley friendship. And then again, it's sort of like an office type building where a creative studio from that tour where people would go and they would interact with one another and sort of in a business sense and to create art. And so then it was like, how are people all hanging out there and they're going to try to live there at night? Like, again, there's a whole lot for me to sort of unpack with that. And then the attorneys for Jennifer and James Crumbley sort of coming up in their defense is saying like, hey, they're not trying to hide at all. They're just, they needed to take a minute and get their affairs in order and figure out their finances and, go down the line. And it's like, yeah, half a mile from Canada, they're needing to do all of that. Because whenever I heard the story initially, it sort of was like, hey, the Crumbleys there's charges being, brought towards the Crumbleys. And then the next thing I heard was, oh, they checked out of the hotel that they were staying in and they withdrew all the money out of their bank account. Well, when you hear those stories, I can't think of how could you come up with a defense that says anything other than this was two people who had made a conscious decision to try to go on the run at least at some time. And so they might have been getting together and hanging out and coming up with a getaway plan. And if that's the case, it makes me heartbroken, that they would just leave their kid high and dry in the situation. Renee in North Carolina says, I think I heard she is/was his realtor. Okay, Renee. By the way, thank you for that super chat. First super chat of the night. First super chat since Friday. Thank you so much for that. That's amazing. And that probably is the relationship. Avery says, can you play the interview of James Crumbley's ex-wife? Yeah, so that, like, I haven't listened to that, but I know I've seen a lot of people talking about that situation as well. So let's go ahead and put that interview on.
Now,
Thank you, Avery, for that super chat. But yeah, I'm interested in it as well.
Wait for James and Jennifer Crumbley to be placed under arrest, we are speaking to a Florida woman who says she knows them quite well. She is telling 7 Action News that the Crumbleys, along with their son Ethan, deserve maximum punishments for any and all of their roles in the tragedy at Oxford High School. 7 Action News reporter Kimberly Craig has more on what she had to say.
We're learning more about James and Jennifer Crumbley from a woman who has an 18-year-old son with him. Michelle Cobb says he left them strapped for cash and struggling to make ends meet.
He's a piece of he really is. The whole time of my son growing, my son is 18 years old now. And you know, I cried the moment he turned 18 because I thought all of this hell is over as far as dealing with my son's father.
And the father of her 18-year-old son, Eli, is James Crumbley. James is also Ethan's father. And Michelle Cobb says it was Jennifer Crumbley who made her son's life unbearable when he would visit his dad and half-brother Ethan. She says it was Jennifer who ran the show.
Jennifer was a monster. She could do no wrong, and she was right about everything.
Prosecutors say it was Jennifer Crumbley who posted the picture of the pistol on Instagram, writing "Mom in Sunday," testing out his new Christmas present.
They pretty much gave him whatever he wanted.
Cobb says while James and Jennifer gave Ethan whatever he wanted, it was a hopeless struggle to get James to pay even $67 a week in child support when he was making six figures.
My son is 6'3" and 240 pounds. Do you know how much $67 a week pays?
More than ever, she's thankful Eli left the Crumbleys' Oxford home right before the start of the pandemic. And Eli says he never even saw any guns when he was here.
The first thing that came to my mind when all of this happened was how thankful that I was that my son was not there.
Cobb says she's heartbroken for the families whose children were killed and those injured. And she says Ethan and his parents must be held accountable for their roles in the tragedy.
I hope they get the maximum, honestly.
Kimberly Craig, 7 Action News.
All right. Thank you so much.
So to me, that was a pretty scandalous interview. Diane, talking about the artist who sort of held them, said, I have to think the artist had no idea who they were. They look so different than their photos. Thank you, Diane, for that very generous super chat tonight. Thank you for your support of the channel and just appreciating what we're doing here, Diane. But, you know, I don't know. And you could be right. I don't know. He said he was helping out a friend, according to their attorney. I thought this was interesting too, that the parents form a legal team, and then they're allowing their son to just get the court-appointed lawyer. What do you guys think about that? Is there any? James and Jennifer Crumbley have hired a pricey legal team that includes Shannon Smith, who represented Larry Nassar, the disgraced USA gymnastics coach. Their son Ethan, on the other hand, is being represented by the court-appointed lawyer Paulette McShell-Lofton, a little-known defense attorney from the Detroit suburb of Rochester. The parents were charged with involuntary manslaughter as accessories in their 15-year-old son's first-degree murder charges. Ethan Crumbley faces life in prison if convicted on 4 counts of first-degree murder, terrorism, and 7 counts of assault with intent to commit murder in the November 30th shootings. The Crumbleys purchased the 9mm semi-automatic gun that their son used and refused to take him out of school after a meeting with administrators over a disturbing drawing that the teen had made. There's another thing that happened that we didn't have a chance to talk about, was the parents obviously were called in, and it's sort of how that press conference said it, which I thought was really interesting. Again, we didn't have time to really talk about it, but sort of how that press conference said it was that a teacher had caught Ethan Crumbley making some notes or drawings in a notebook where it was like pretty much depicted what was happening, and then said, you know, I can't stop these evil thoughts, or something like. I don't think it said evil, like I can't stop these thoughts. It was along the lines of something like that. And so the teacher took a picture of it and reported him. And the day before, he had been like Google searching like ammunition during class and had gotten in trouble. So it was 2 days in a row he got in trouble for something very particular. And then the mother sends him a text. So they get called into the principal's office and they start having the conversation. They're like, well, what, you know, Here's some concern. He immediately has to go to counseling. He was searching ammunition yesterday. Today, he's drawing pictures where he's shooting people. I don't think he should be at school today. And they're like, no, we think we should leave him at school. It's fine. And we don't actually think he's going to do anything like this or whatever. They go home. The mom sends Ethan a text message and says, don't do it. The dad goes and looks at the guns and realizes one's missing and apparently calls 911 or whatever. And it was too late and said the gun's missing. Moonstone says, how on earth do two parents abscond not only from their legal responsibility, but from their child? No wonder he is who he is. That's exactly what I was thinking, Moonstone. I was like, well, what would you expect? You know, they clearly didn't seem to be model parents in this situation. And unfortunately, there's 4 lives. And so no wonder he is who he is exactly right. Thank you, Moonstone, for that super chat. Avery says, Ethan was failed by everyone around him, including the school. I know his actions are really awful, but I can't help but feel for him. I felt like he had some type of crisis or an intersection where there definitely was some evil and maybe even some, and I know some people don't like when I say this, but it's demonic to me. We talked about the Astro World thing with Travis Scott. I felt like it was that same word, demonic. And then again, on this situation, I can't help but to think it's a demonic type situation. Like there was an intersection where something really evil happened, and there were adults around him that sort of were cluing into it. And it seemed like some of them were trying to help. Hey, he has to go to counseling. But this was one of those situations where a crisis could have been averted, and unfortunately it wasn't. And in retrospect, you know, the officials that were involved are going to have to live with that. And I know they are. I know they're heartbroken over it. There's no way that they're going to be able for the rest of their life to just shake it off, because they're like, we knew something, we saw something, we said something, but we didn't do enough. Thank you, Avery, for that super chat. It's just heartbreaking, you know. Has he been charged as an adult? Yes, he has been. They are charging him as an adult in this situation for sure. And so now instead, he was at the children's or the juvenile prison. Now he's in prison at the county jail or whatever. He's in jail, not in prison. He's at the county jail, the same county jail that his parents are in. I doubt they're able to have any communication, but at one point I thought that they were having like a family jail cell or whatever, which would be really interesting, but I don't think they are based on they're just at the same like jail. And I think they're on suicide watch, or at least Ethan's on suicide watch. Vicky says, I feel like Ethan was counting on being taken out, suicide by cop fashion. And Jennifer Rochelle says, no, Ethan gave up immediately. He wanted to live. Miss Stewie says, let's just call it what it is, a lack of raising kids without values. You know, it had me thinking a little bit about this Parkland shooting that happened, which ironically, like this trial was just happening. And here's the Parkland shooter, Nicholas Cruz, who maybe we can learn a lot from. I don't know. He had a very difficult home environment, obviously. He had several $100,000 in the bank, which is interesting. Like, you know, he didn't have a financial pressure, but it seemed like he didn't really care about money. So he had, I guess, from like a life insurance policy, he had received several $100,000. I think it was like $650,000 or something like that he had in his bank account. So it wasn't a money situation. The Oxford School is refusing any communications. There's an investigation being talked about. Thank you, Renee, for that super chat. There's some fighting going on, it sounds like, between the Oxford School District and sort of the government overseeing them. Thank you, Renee, for that super chat. They're refusing any communications. Rebecca says not dismissing the parents, but the school refused an internal audit from the AG office. Maybe the hype against them is distraction from the school. Thank you, Rebecca, for that super chat. Sounds like you and Renee are both on the same page about that. Like, I don't know why they hired an outside agency, a secular security defense agency, to come in and do an investigation instead of the Attorney General's office. Maybe they're trying to make sure that it's not something that's politicized. And I mean, it's good to do that sometimes, but in this situation, I think you should cooperate with whoever you should cooperate it with. Let me show you guys just this is an I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but I just wanted to show this one piece of this interview with you. This is Nicholas Cruz just a couple weeks ago sharing in court his thoughts.
Yeah, I take off my mask. Sure. I am very sorry for what I did, and I have to live with it every day. And that if I were to get a second chance, I will do everything in my power to try to help others. And I am doing this for you, and I do not care if you do not believe me. And I love you, and I know you don't believe me, but I have to live with this every day, and it brings me nightmares, and I can't live with myself sometimes, but I try to push through because I know that's what you guys would want me to do. I hate drugs, and I believe this country would do better if everyone would stop smoking marijuana and doing all these drugs and causing racism and violence out in the streets. I'm sorry, and I can't even watch TV anymore. And I'm trying my best to maintain my composure, and I just want you to know I'm really sorry. And I hope you give me a chance to try to help others. If I believe it's your decision to decide where I go and whether I live or die. Not the jury's. I believe it's your decision. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Nothing to say, John. Judge, at this point, I don't.
So that's the Parkland shooter. Maybe there's some things we can learn from him.
Been a week since.
I'm going to try to fast forward. We've already talked a lot about the first half of this interview, but the second half of this interview, they get a little bit more into the investigation.
In a warehouse on Detroit's stand, investigators ended up going to his home afterwards with a search warrant, and they ended up taking away some phones as well as some tablets that they will be looking over for further evidence in this situation. And then the end result, a report will be sent to the prosecutor's office, and they will decide whether formal charges should happen here against this artist. So this is another situation that is continuing to develop that we will keep an eye on throughout today and throughout the week.
Yeah, and Robin, we really thank you and your entire team for all of your coverage and helping our viewers stay up to speed for the last week. As you mentioned today, it's probably going to be a very emotional day and the weeks and months to come. So you have a great rest of your day, and we'll continue to touch base with your team. Thanks so much, Robin.
Thank you, Regina. Have a good day.
You as well. All right, everybody. A positive update to bring you out of Oxford, Michigan this morning. However, as you know, unfortunately, 4 students did lose their lives and others were also shot and injured as well. Well, we do have an update that one of them was able to go home, and we're learning some of the details of what actually happened to this student right here, 14-year-old Phoebe Arthur. She was critically injured after being shot in the neck and chest and spent several days on a ventilator. Incredibly, she's now out of the hospital. According to a GoFundMe page, a friend put compressions on Phoebe's wounds to stop the bleeding until paramedics arrived, likely saving her life. She has a long road to recovery. The GoFundMe page will help cover her medical bills, and it is already...
Wow, praise God on that, right? That she was able to recover even after being on a ventilator and who knows what else. So praise God on that. That's incredible. Unbelievable, actually. Wow. Grandma Patty, thank you for the super chat. You say, sadly, Ethan's biggest defense for his lawyers and his jury will be his parents. Probably right. And it puts them in a fight against each other. It's a lose-lose-lose situation, isn't it? There's nothing good that can even come of this situation. I didn't think about that. What is the defense going to be, Grandma Patty? And you're sounds like you're right on the money about it. "15 years old. Can you imagine?" Elizabeth says, I wonder if Ethan's parents will back him during the trial. It's not looking good since they got their own lawyer. That's sort of how I was thinking. And I want to take it back to the thing that I've been saying the whole time. It's like, whenever teenagers deal with situations like this, it's very difficult. And there's a struggle, and the struggle is much deeper a lot of times than I think we realize. And I think there's a group of students that were not shot at all that are never going to be the same for the rest of their life. It's collective community trauma. And we need to continue to, there's 1,300 students in this school or whatever. We need to continue to pray for these students and petition God and just believe that, you know, what the enemy's done by inflicting onto them a very difficult mental wound in the form of complex trauma, that, you know, God can unwind and they'll be able to use it for good.
Well, it is no secret nor surprise that Oxford is a community in unbelievable pain 1 week after the school shooting that killed 4 teenagers and injured 7 others. But what are the surviving students and their families going through? Our Paula Tutman is hearing from experts on the ground about the impact of the trauma now and also in the long term.
When the community gathered last week for a vigil, one incident, someone fainting in the crowd, a flag's grommets hitting a flagpole with a boom, and then panic. It is visual proof of the sheer raw trauma Oxford is going through right now.
It's been really difficult. We all have had very high emotions lately. It's taken a real big toll on our community.
I've cried a lot. I've been sad. There's been times where my first time up here, I cried.
And with counselors and mental health professionals parked in the community to help all who want the tools to cope, a picture is emerging of what life is right now in this community.
We started from the very moment we heard about it. We had 3 crisis counselors go into the community that very day.
Dana Lassenby is the CEO of Oakland Community Health Network. She is mental health practitioners in Oxford, counseling parents, students, and first responders. Her people are seeing sheer fear from some parents not wanting to let their children leave the house or even think about going back to school right now.
I see a lot of fear, a lot of fear of kids and parents about letting their children return back to school. A lot of fear. Some kids are ready to go and other kids are just don't want to leave their parents' side. School is no longer thought of as this traditional safe place.
Detroit Wayne Integrated Health Network also has counselors on the ground in this community.
There's that sense of, just being overwhelmed, and then there is just depression as well.
And not just for the kids that went to the high school. We're talking about kids in that community that may never want to go back to school.
But what mental health professionals want people in this community and any community to know is help is available and this feeling will dissipate in time.
I think it's important to remember, first of all, it's in a bit of reassurance. Most people, when they experience a traumatic event, will be okay. But, secondary trauma is real.
Yeah, it really is real. And Karen, here's something that a lot of people don't even really think about, and that is the people on the ground, the counselors, as well as even the first responders. They're traumatized themselves. And so they have to be given tools as well just to cope so they can help this community cope. It is heartbreaking. I do want people to know that our amazing web team has put together incredible resources. If you want to know if there's counseling available in your community, just go to the front page of Click on Detroit.
I mean, I would have a very difficult time wanting to bring my kids back to school, and the school is going to reopen slowly and gradually, and I don't blame them for saying that at all. Rebecca, thank you for the super chat. You said not helping him, strategy by lawyer. His defense, no one cared about him. Jury feels sorry for him. He's charged as an adult, can't charge parents. So that's an interesting strategy. It's like I was telling somebody who knew nothing about the case. They're not into this world. They don't follow current events at all. I was just telling them about this case, and they're like, a 15-year-old? Do you imagine a 15-year-old going to jail for the rest of their life? They need to go into a mental health therapy, or maybe even a mental home for the rest of their life or something. Not a jail. A 15-year-old in prison for the rest of their life. Again, I don't know. There's so much about this case we don't know. There's so much about Ethan we don't know. Thank you, Rebecca, for that super chat. Andy says they're not paying his lawyer anymore. This morning, Ethan's parents are making him get a court-appointed attorney. Yeah. And then instead of using money for Ethan to have an attorney, they've got themselves an attorney. And I don't know how much money they have. Do they have very much money as a family? They spend all their money? The stepmom was saying he couldn't pay $67 in child support or whatever it was. Does the Crumbley family not have any finances? $4,000 in their bank account? I don't know. Andy, thank you for that super chat. Oxford schools to reopen slowly, gradually following the school shooting. And I put this in as a poll. Would you send your kids back to Oxford? Could you guys go vote in that poll? If you haven't already, could you go vote in the poll? Marissa says, totally off subject, but can you make a don't stop hat in hot pink glitter? I don't know. That's funny, though. That'd be interesting to see, wouldn't it? It'd be definitely a change from the red. Thank you for the super chat, Marissa. That'd be really funny. It'd look good, too. I'll say that. It would look good. Theo the Leo says, I worked in group homes where children killed their family members. He could thrive in a group home and serious counseling, medication, etc. I just can't. You guys remember the footage of Ethan when he was like 11, 4 years ago, or 10, 5 years ago? You remember? Something happened. He just looked like a normal kid. Something happened. In the 6 days since the terrible tragedy, Oxford has began to pick up the pieces as best they can by picking up each other. Life, after all, must move forward in some way, and Oxford Community Schools announced its plan to return students and educators to the classroom. The district will start with a soft opening, which includes grief counseling, meals for families, and trauma response for teachers. Clinical therapist Dr. Sabrina Jackson applauded the efforts from the district. I absolutely think this is a great way of approaching it because you don't want to spend your time laser focusing on just the tragedy. We have to have those difficult, challenging conversations. Are they having trouble sleeping? Are they having trouble eating? Really to check in with them. In a statement, Oxford's superintendent said, at this time, our plan is to move slowly and gradually, balancing social and emotional needs with some low-stress academics. Some children rely on academics as a tool to create a familiarity and normalcy. The district will start by having kindergarten through 8th grade students back on December 13th. A date for high school students was not set. You can't leave children to their own devices, even if they're teens. We need to ask the adults, ask the big brothers and the aunties or the parents, what? Put that down for a minute. Come over here and let's just play some Jenga. When students do return, an increased police presence will be in place to put them at ease. So K through 8, going back, December 13th, high school, those dates are not set yet. Charlie, thank you for that super sticker. Thank you for supporting the channel. I appreciate all you guys supporting the channel. I know I haven't been on here the past couple of days, so it feels good to have your support, though. And just as a way to say you appreciate the content, you want me to keep doing it, you love what's happening here, it's bringing value in your life. So thank you guys for doing that. And shout out to everybody who's a part of the Feller fam. I know I've been making Vlogmas, and I'm very sorry that I missed the Vlogmas the past couple days. I'm going to get back on it. I just have been very busy, and like today I was so exhausted. I just overdo myself, and I keep forgetting that like I'm still in recovering mode, and I just cannot like do things how I used to do them. And so anyways, that's part of the reason why there hasn't been Vlogmas. But I will get back to it. Just got to get in the right rhythm. Got to get in the right rhythm. I hope you guys enjoyed the Vlogmas videos that I've been doing, though. Get to see a little different side of me. I'm going to change subjects now to the Alec Baldwin thing. And I wasn't into this case for a variety of reasons. I don't know. But then I watched his interview with George Stephanopoulos. And when I watched that interview with George Stephanopoulos, it intrigued me enough to be like, I at least want to see that interview, or like talk about that particular interview. Clearly, he's an actor and it was rehearsed. And as I was watching it, I was just said to myself, like, you know, is this the ultimate form of an actor? That's what I was thinking.
Go with the hammer or the gun and the gun goes off. It wasn't in the script for the trigger to be pulled. Well, the trigger wasn't pulled. I didn't pull the trigger. She goes down. I thought to myself, did she faint? The notion that there was a live round in that gun did not dawn on me till probably 45 minutes to an hour later. Do you feel guilt? No. Someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me.
Okay, Alec Baldwin making several stunning claims during his first TV interview since a deadly shooting left one woman dead on the set of his movie Rust.
The actor telling George Stephanopoulos he did not pull the trigger, and he didn't even realize he shot the lady until 45 minutes after the incident.
Joining us now with reaction is actor and reserve police officer and producer Dean Cain. Dean, from what you saw of the interview, what do you think of his explanations and descriptions?
Well, good morning, Brian, Ainsley, Steve.
Good
You know,
morning.
I'm still trying to figure out why he did the interview. You know, I think he's just trying to get ahead of the narrative here and go, look, you know, here's what it is, and maybe get the court of public opinion on his side. But, you know, he violated. I mean, there was negligence here all the way through. Helena Hutchins lost her life, and it was because of negligence. Now, his response or his reason why he did it, pulling back the hammer, if he's using a single action weapon and he pulls back the hammer and lets it go, that's the same as pulling the trigger. And anybody who has any knowledge of guns understands that. In the Screen Actors Guild safety bulletins right here, the very first thing they say is blanks can kill, treat all firearms as though they are loaded. And of course, live ammunition is never to be used or brought on set.
Yeah.
Somebody brought that live ammunition on set, and that's a problem. But he should not, even if he's pointing a weapon, like he said that the director of photography, Helena Hutchins, told him to point it here, there. Anybody who's experienced, even as Alec Baldwin should have opened and checked the cylinder. There should have been a safety meeting beforehand. It's standard protocol, and it wasn't followed. So there is negligence without a doubt. The fact that he doesn't feel guilt, that's a tough one for me, because if I had been in the same position and I'd done that myself, you know, even though it was a complete accident, and I believe it was an accident, I don't know how you don't feel some semblance of guilt. I don't understand that.
Maybe he just doesn't want to admit it, right? Because what does that look like if he does?
Yeah, well, again, I think part of the reason he did this interview, which when there's a civil and or criminal proceedings ahead, it's hard for me to understand why he would do that. Why are you talking like this and giving your side? Because that, as far as I'm concerned, that's evidence in the case. You know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Sure. Dean, a new search warrant approved by the judge in the case revealed that the live round may actually have been left in the gun from the previous film production. So it could be one of those things where nobody ever looked. In the meantime, the Sheriff Mendoza, who's been on this program, regarding what he said, Alec Baldwin said, he said, guns don't just go off. So whatever needs to happen to manipulate the firearm, he did that, and it was in his hands. You know, he says he's not responsible for it, but somebody's got to figure out what happened because somebody is dead.
Yeah, I was shocked when he said, I didn't pull the trigger. And I get that. But if you have a single action revolver and you pull the hammer back before it clicks and holds and let it go, that's literally the same as firing the weapon. And anybody who has any experience with firearms at all should know that. And I believe Alec should have been aware.
Dean, you take a hold of productions, you hire people, you're a producer. Is it possible that do you ever think to yourself, I'm responsible? Should somebody go wrong, fall off a ladder, do anything? Do you always have that sense of responsibility? Because he's a producer on this.
Well, there's sometimes, and he said he was a creative producer and had no business with all. I mean, I think they're getting into legal semantics beforehand, and I think he's trying to cover himself in a sense. But I know when I produce things and I hire people, that I have some semblance of responsibility. I also know that this wouldn't happen on a set that I was on. It just couldn't. There's no way someone could be handed a weapon and not have a safety meeting beforehand, have everyone together. And I don't believe, from what I've heard, I didn't hear anybody talk about a safety meeting that took place beforehand. And it says very clearly on that same Screen Actors Guild bulletin, before any use of a firearm in a rehearsal and or on camera sequence or off camera, all persons must be thoroughly briefed on an on-site safety meeting. And I don't think that took place. I think it's just negligence. And I don't think Alec did it on purpose by any stretch of the imagination. But, the gun was in his hands, and he did pull back the hammer and let it go.
So what do you guys think? By the way, I put the link. If anybody wants to call in tonight, I put the link up I pinned it and in the chat. So just click on it. If you come on, no using foul language. Your YouTube needs to be muted because you're going to be on a different website called StreamYard. That's what I use. It would come in through StreamYard. So anyways, would love to have some of you guys call in if you want to tonight. And I watched another thing where there was a thing called an armor. And apparently, it's somebody's job on the movie set is to make sure they're handling all of the guns and that type of equipment. And there has been training. Alec Baldwin went through training of it, knew how to use the handgun and stuff. So there's a whole lot of things that need to be unpacked with that case. I just don't know why he was on the news. Why did he feel like he needed to sit down and do an interview with George Stephanopoulos on it? Again, somebody who's really powerful, who has a lot of influence in the media world and the news world. Why in the world would he sit down and have that interview? And then in the interview, they said, do you feel guilty? No, he said, I don't feel guilty. Should Alec Baldwin feel guilty? 86% of you in the poll so far said yes. If you guys haven't voted in the poll, why don't you go vote in the poll real fast? Get us a more clear idea of that. By the way, hit the like button on the video too if you haven't done so. That shoots us out into the YouTube algorithm. It's really helpful. Small thing you could do, very easy. If you haven't already too, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel. We'd love to have you as a part of our team here. And so if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. By the way, do you guys like my Feller Fam hoodie? Look, Feller Fam hoodie, Don't Stop hat. Do you guys like the Feller Fam hoodie and the Don't Stop hat? You guys digging it tonight? 85% of you guys saying, I get why he said, no, I don't feel guilty, because he's like, I didn't do anything on purpose, sort of what he's saying. But whether he did it on purpose or didn't do it on purpose, would you feel guilty? Somebody he never had met before, so there's no way to form a motive around it, right? Marissa says he probably does feel guilty, he just can't say that. Maybe he's a narcissist and doesn't, I don't know. Latrice says I would feel guilty. I would definitely feel guilty. Martha, who's been a member for 3 months, says saying he doesn't feel guilty speaks volumes to me. Me too. Grandma Patty says narcissistic people just can't keep quiet. You probably were typing that before I said maybe he's a narcissist. Thank you, Grandma Patty, for that super chat. I think so too. I think he doesn't feel guilt, possibly because he's a narcissist. And then on top of that, wants to be at the center of attention. Do you think his career is over from this? Like, I wouldn't guess his career's over. I don't really know what he's been on either, though. Like, if somebody was like, this is what he's known for. I don't really know what he's known for. Melissa says, I love the hoodie and the hat and I love my shirts. They are so soft. Yeah, they are really, this hoodie is really comfortable, really soft. I love it. Jennifer says, I only base my thoughts on the interview, not his past behavior. So maybe that's why I thought he seemed genuine. Yeah, I think, like, again, like, I agree totally with this Dean Cain guy who on this episode was like, in this interview was like, I don't think he meant to do it. So again, like, I don't think he meant to do it. I don't think he's guilty of like planning a murder, but I don't know. The interview just seemed really weird to me. It definitely felt like it was staged. Felt really staged to me. I don't think he's going to be charged with anything. I think he said many times he's not going to be charged with anything. There's a link if you guys want to call in. One more thing I wanted to talk about. Some of you guys wanted me to talk about this. It's an interesting story involving Joel Osteen and a bunch of money.
The inspirational messages pack his Houston church with thousands. But this morning, Pastor Joel Osteen in the spotlight with a money mystery.
But I mean, it was just like unbelievable, the things he was telling us that they found in the wall.
During his morning radio show, host George Lindsay took a call from a man who identified himself as a plumber who recently worked inside Osteen's Lakewood Church. The station, 100.3 in Houston, asked callers to chime in about interesting discoveries.
There was a loose toilet in the wall, and we removed the tile. Well, they removed the tile. Went to go remove the toilet, and I moved some insulation away, and about 500 envelopes fell out of the wall.
Envelopes full of cash, checks, and money orders.
I went ahead and contacted the maintenance supervisor that was there, and I went ahead and turned it all in.
The church confirmed the find in a statement, writing, an undisclosed amount of cash and checks were found, adding they notified police, but Lakewood has no further comment at this time. Houston police wouldn't share how much was recovered, but did state Friday evidence from the recovered checks suggests this November case is connected to a March 9th, 2014 theft report of undisclosed amounts of money at the church. That money disappeared from a church safe. And while police launched an investigation, no arrests were ever made. With regular services planned for Sunday, police documented the evidence and left it with Lakewood staff, but called the case an active investigation. Now, there was a push to get that plumber some reward money after that incredible find, but Crime Stoppers says that the expiration for the tips had already passed, and that if you are to hand over a tip, it must lead to an arrest. And as of right now, Peter Kristen, no arrests, no suspects named. Send it back to you.
Unbelievable. Morgan Chesky, thank you for.
I thought that was a wild story. Happy caffeinated couple. Thank you for the super chat. You say some polls I don't vote in because at the time I don't have enough information to have an educated opinion. Tyler, would you consider putting on some I'm not sure, I don't know as an option, just an idea? Yes, I can do that. Some of the times I just put yes or no because yes or no are automatic answers. And then I'm like making those polls as I'm talking to you on here. So I'm literally typing and talking all at the same time a lot of the times. And so that's why I just leave it yes or no. But I can do that. I can add an I don't know or I'm not sure option because I want more people voting in the polls, as many people as possible. So I didn't know. I just thought you were waiting to hear more information, some people, and then they would go back and vote. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to create a new poll. Should the church give the plumber some reward money? Yes, no, or I'm not sure. You guys can vote in that poll. Thank you for that super chat. Happy caffeinated couple. What did you guys think of this case, though? Or not this case, this story with Joel Osteen. It's very interesting. It was like, just had me in this position of like, why was there $600,000 or a bunch of money and hidden in the wall? Somebody steal the money and then like got caught and they just shoved it in the wall? Very interesting. Hey, Shelly, how are you?
Hey, Tyler. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. Thank you for calling in. What are your thoughts today?
Well, I have quite a few with Joel Osteen because I've been to church there when I lived in Houston. I moved to go to Lakewood, and my story with the church is 100% positive. And so I kind of get frustrated at people. I try not to, but that have criticism that haven't been in the church. And I'm not frustrated with anybody. I just thought it might be beneficial for people to know what kind of perception some people have.
Mm-hmm.
So should I tell you about it, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would say quickly because I don't know if people have either
Gotcha.
issues or not with the church, and it seems to
Right.
me largely irrelevant to what happened in this story. Maybe it's not though. You
Oh,
know, it was
I
money that
mean,
was stolen. I guess $600,000 was stolen from the church. Redavision says someone had planned to come back and get it. Well, that makes sense, right?
it sure sounds like it.
But I don't know. It had to be probably an inside job or whatever. I don't know. What are your thoughts about it? I mean, it's such
Well,
a weird situation.
I will tell you, there's so many thousands of volunteers and people who are involved with the church. So the people I met were very sincere. I was in my life group, just kind of how we make the church small. I would guarantee nothing would ever be not on the up and up with those people that I knew. What knew them as brothers and sisters. But anytime you have a group of 40,000 people, which is what the biggest church in North America, then you have a variety of types. There's a spectrum. So I do feel like that. I would say, if I had to guess, that Joel and anybody in administration would have had no clue that something like this would happen. And it's the strangest thing I've ever heard.
I mean, how would he know that there's $600,000 in the wall for 7 years?
Exactly. But I will say there is a great deal of money involved in the church, and most of it is paying for the ability for him to be on the air, which he was the television guy before he became the pastor. He was television guy for his dad, and really begged his dad to please let's put it on the air because some people can't get out. Some people, he had all these different ideas about reaching people that would like to hear more, and his gift is encouragement. Of course, they're criticized quite a bit by the amount of money they have and the cars they drive, and we both know that.
Doesn't bother me though, personally.
I'm sorry.
It doesn't bother me personally.
Exactly, same here, because any money that he's ever been paid from being a pastor, he paid all of that. He gave all that back to the church. He has made a lot of money on his books. and he's put a lot of time into it. He's a very dedicated person. But it is a crazy story. And there was a previous story years back. Did you remember the one on the airline issue?
Mm-mm.
That was the only other big time story. Well, I guess when we had the hurricane as well, there was quite a bit of criticism that they didn't open for Hurricane Harvey, that they didn't open like immediately. And I would just say on that situation, they wanted to get it cleared because on the property there's I guess the basement area that had flooded before, and they wanted to make sure they didn't bring some people in that, and plus we had staff at that time. I mean, I was there during that time, that were in the process of being rescued. So I think I was really pleased. But it's easy to stretch out any story. In my opinion, you can take, news media can jump on something and skew it in a wild direction. But I will say it is a crazy story. Very crazy.
Well, the report that came out today said that the man who found the money, the plumber, is going to be given a $20,000 reward from Crime Stoppers, and they deemed him as a good Samaritan. He found the money while obviously doing work at the church.
Plumbing, right?
So I was just reading that article, but
yeah, I think that's great. It's obvious that he contacted.
I don't necessarily think he should have got money. No offense. It's just like he was called to be a plumber. He was doing his job. Like it wasn't like he did anything like special to find a bunch of. You know what I mean?
I agree with you, Tyler.
Why would he do money when he was there doing his job already and just happened to be there?
But sometimes a lot of people. If you would think about the general population, and all of a sudden they found all this money. Many people would pocket parts of that. And do you see what I'm saying? And not be on the
money
up
that
and
belongs to the Lord, though, then you got another thing coming.
Exactly. And so, I just thought that was the wildest thing. When we were building that site, we were all down there, writing scriptures on the wall, and when we poured concrete, it was a normal part of the excitement of the new facility, because we used to be out on the north side and just continued to grow, and just they're beyond generous. The way that you had talked about the type of generosity when your soul is filled with a strong relationship, it's just amazing. And I saw that so often. It brought me to tears and totally changed who I am forever. So the idea of somebody putting money in a wall, I see that opportunity could have definitely been there just from what I saw. I just can't imagine it happening still. So I just thought, I don't know. Obviously I don't really have much to share other than my perception of how the church was when I lived there, and I was there for 5 years. So it's just that section of time. But when you talk about miracles, and I love the way that you pray over people on our Faith Friday, those things happened very often. It didn't hit the news, but like Joel's mother, had level 4 liver cancer. Is that it exactly? I think, yeah. I'm starting to think, what if it was a different organ now? But it was completely healed. Mm-hmm. Doctors had given the family no chance, and they were wanting to go to hospice, and it took some time. It wasn't immediate, but I enjoyed getting to hear her tell about it. And there were other, even in his family, his sister Lisa, there's so many. I don't know if you knew about her healing But we have people today that think, well, the church I grew up in, and I won't get into this too much, but they just feel like that miracles are no longer happen. And that's what they believe. And the truth is, they don't see them. They don't pray for miracles. They don't ask because that's what they believe. So it was quite intriguing to me to see this whole different the power, I guess, the power that comes with the dedication and belief and prayer. And sometimes there's not a miracle, but it doesn't mean, in my opinion, that that's what God had intended. The miracle might have been that everyone had peace. And in my opinion, I mean, he answers our prayer the way that's he sees fit, right? I mean, do you
Well,
believe?
it's kind of complex because
Mhm.
I don't think God's will for any of us ever is to have any sickness or disease. That's not God.
Mhm.
So whenever I think about it, I think God always wants to heal. I think it's always his will to heal. And I don't think when we're not healed that it's not God's will. I just
Right.
don't know why sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, it's quite
So
that is confusing to me as well, and I think it is. I would say to most people that I've talked with. Um, so I mean, I really the story is so far fetched. I mean, so far out there, but I would say that it's true that somehow the money was taken as builders were
yeah,
building, and maybe they thought they could come back at some point. And it was reported missing. What year was that?
2014.
14. Okay. I was there. No, I had just moved. So let me go back. Let me backtrack then, because our church had already been built. It wasn't during the time that, like, there's a 99-year lease is what we have with what used to be the basketball location. So now I'm thinking, okay, it is, I don't know. I mean, things are remodeled often. It's an
It could have been
extraordinary
any number of
place.
it's probably somebody on the inside, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it was money, it was basically all the money from the offering that weekend, which was $600,000 that
Oh,
Sunday's offering.
it was that weekend. It was that weekend. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds quite believable from from the little bit I know. I'm just an outsider.
Mhm.
So
Well, thank
I
you for
just
your thoughts, Shelly.
Oh
Appreciate you
yeah.
calling in.
Yeah. Thank you for allowing me to call.
Yep.
And I hope you have a good night.
Yep, you too.
Thanks.
Denise, thank you so much for that super sticker. Appreciate your support of the channel. What do you guys think about the court? This is something too we didn't spend enough time talking about, I don't think. What do you think about that? The parents having an attorney they're paying money for, and then they sort of pulled back the funds on the attorney for their son and are allowing just the court-appointed attorney. Not that there's anything wrong with court-appointed attorney, but just if you said, here's two people, parents and the kids, one of them has to have a court-appointed attorney and one of them has to, has the finances to hire one, then would you pick for your child, you'd pay for him, even no matter the circumstances? You say, like, I'll take one for the team. I'll do court appointed. We'll hire your lawyer. Jennifer says they should go to jail for a very long time. Not going to disagree with you on that one, Jennifer. Kathy, thank you for your super chat. Good to see you looking rested, Tyler. Thank you. Pretty much what I did today was tried to rest. I feel really tired though. All the cases tonight are so interesting. I love our Feller Fam discussions. Well, thank you, Kathy. I love our Feller Fam discussions too, and I'm glad that we're able to have that. I'm glad we're able to have some Feller Fam discussions. You think they put extra lighting on these mug shots? By the way, thank you, Kathy, for that super chat. It just means a lot to have your support. I just feel like they have like, looks like they did some lighting on these pictures, doesn't it to you? Does it to you guys? A lot of mug shots are just, I don't know. Melissa says, I would think about my kid first. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. Lana says, why get the kid/shooter a good lawyer when he's going to get many, many years in prison no matter what? Why waste money? It's one thought. I think that, honestly, really good attorney would take the case for free just because of the publicity from it. Avery says, I stole cookies from church when I was 8 years old, and I still feel guilt. How can anyone steal money? You know what? Churches should give 8-year-olds cookies. I'll just say that, as much as they want, and their parents let them have it. Yeah, I don't know how anybody could take $600,000 from a church, but it happens all the time. People try to steal from churches all the time, try to steal from their offering all the time. There's different philosophies about it. Falula says by the way, Avery, thank you for that super chat. Falula says those parents are consistent in their lack of putting their child and his needs first. I'm not surprised they're focusing their money on themselves instead of their son. That's the only thing about it that makes sense to me. I'm like, yeah, I see that. I see what you're saying.
The school was aware, right, that he had access to a gun at least sometimes because the school was aware, right, that he had access to a gun at least sometimes because they knew, according to him, that target practice was a family hobby. And obviously, if shooting sports are a family hobby, you can't do that without a gun, right?
I really can't comment on what the school officials knew or didn't know. I can only comment on the evidence that's public at this moment.
But they've said that publicly, right? Like that is public information that he revealed to them that shooting sports were a family hobby.
I believe they have stated that he revealed to one school official after he was searching ammunition that was a family hobby. And I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that that's true.
Did the school have legal grounds to search his backpack and his locker?
Yes.
But they didn't?
It doesn't, no. I mean, we don't know exactly if that weapon was in his bag, where it was. We just know that it was in the school and he had access to it. And I just want to say I'm sympathetic to parents. My husband and I have raised 5 children, and I'm certainly not suggesting that parents should be criminally prosecuted for any bad act of a child. But in this case, you can't possibly look at their actions and say that they didn't have reason to believe that there was real concern about a violent act. And again, these are just the details that we've made public. So going to the source, if he had not had access to that weapon, if it was secured away from him, whether it's locked or not, he had access to it. And all of this could have been prevented if he hadn't had access, or if just one of those parents had said, I'm concerned about what I'm seeing right now, and I also want you to know we just bought him a gun for Christmas. And that didn't happen. And I just can't let that go without holding them accountable. And I think most of the country feels that way too.
And now this comes as the village.
Thank you, Elizabeth, for that super chat. She makes some good points, and she's causing me to think about some things a little bit from a different angle. I think that's what we do. We get perspective. We try to work ourselves around a mountain until we could get a full view of the valley that's ahead. Do you think that there should be criminal charges against the high school officials or not? Again, Elizabeth, I just want to say thank you for that super chat. Thank you for your support of the channel, Elizabeth. It means a lot.
Just mourning the loss of 4 students, of course. There are also new questions surrounding the actions the school took before the tragedy, specifically after a meeting with Ethan Crumbley and his parents. Our Team 7 coverage continues now with 7 Action News reporter Jim Kurtzner, who has been looking into the possibility of charges against school officials. Jim, what have you learned?
Carolyn, the prosecutor here says she will make her charging decision against school officials after the ongoing investigation is over. But this morning, she was pretty outspoken on 2 national news broadcasts.
There was absolutely evidence to suggest that there was an indication he might harm somebody and even kill somebody. We haven't ruled out charging anyone.
The evidence is Ethan Crumbley was reported by a teacher on Monday, the day before the shooting, that he was looking at ammunition on his cell phone in class. Prosecutor says the child explained that was a family hobby. On Tuesday, just a couple of hours before the shooting, another teacher found him with a drawing of a gun a student shot twice, a bullet, and the words, "The thoughts won't stop. Please help me. Blood everywhere. My life is useless. The world is dead." That was reported to the office. The teacher took a picture of it. The parents were called to the school. By then, much of the drawing had been scratched out. The parents refused to take Ethan home. He was allowed to return to class.
And in this case, a lot could have been done different. I mean, that meeting, he was allowed to go back to school.
The prosecutor has charged both parents with involuntary manslaughter for buying their son a handgun as a Christmas present, allowing him to have access to it, and not reporting it to the school in that meeting. Same charges could come against school officials.
She'd be looking at the same charges she leveled against the parents, and that's involuntary manslaughter. And then she'd have to prove that the school officials were grossly negligent, pretty much being able to prove that they knew or should have known that this young man was going to do these horrific things.
Another prosecutor in the Republican Party takes a different view.
Based on the small amount that I know, it's a slippery slope to start charging school officials. And the reason why is I think that needs to be played out in a civil arena and not the criminal arena.
The Oxford superintendent, in a detailed letter to the district over the weekend, said in part, given the fact that the child had no prior disciplinary infractions, the decision was made he would be returned to the classroom rather than sent home to an empty house. These incidents remained at the guidance counselor level and were never elevated to the principal or assistant principal's office. The Michigan Education Association is the union representing teachers and counselors at Oxford High School.
Right now, the goal needs to be to deal with their trauma and the trauma of their students in that community. That has to be our priority. You know, investigations need to happen. We need to look at the systems involved. And as I said, everyone involved is going to rethink everything from Tuesday for the rest of their lives.
So I wanted to go to that. So I agree with Avery. She says, I think they need to bulldoze that school. I've been saying that. Or at least if it happened in one wing, it's a big building, right? So at least if it happened in one wing of the building, like it just needs to be bulldozed. I'm sure they could raise enough money to rebuild it if they didn't have the money to do that. But I don't think it's right when I think about these kids having to go back into that building. I don't think that it's right. Like it bothers me a lot to be thinking about these kids every day going to school and having to walk past the places where this took place. Like, it really bothers me. And so I'm okay with them bulldozing it. Like, I can imagine them having to continue to go to it. Renee says, I'm afraid the $1 million bond, somebody paying for it. Thank you, Renee, for that super chat. Yeah, I mean, I think somebody will pay it and they'll have the little ankle bracelets or whatever. It's like, I think that's what will happen. Happy Caffeinated Couple say, I agree. Didn't they bulldoze Sandy Hook whenever that happened? Yeah, I was pretty sure that whenever Sandy Hook, they just got rid of it. Yeah, here's the demolition of Sandy Hook from the sky. I think they blow it up. Charlie says a teacher and myself were called to the office and told one of our students told his mother he wanted to shoot us. Are you serious? He was 7 years old and very violent. Oh my goodness, Charlie. Thank you for that super chat. That's insane. Seven years old. Yeah, so you could see they're demolishing that school, Sandy Hook.
In Newtown, Connecticut, the new Sandy Hook Elementary School was unveiled yesterday. It replaces the building that was demolished after the massacre in 2012. Here again is Marley Hall with a look at the school, giving Sandy Hook kids a new start.
The new Sandy Hook Elementary School was designed to appeal to children and to keep them safe.
The safety and security measures that are in this building are second to none.
The $50 million, 86,000 square foot building has impact-resistant doors and windows, as well as state-of-the-art video monitoring. The ground floor is elevated, making it harder to see inside classrooms from the outside.
Anyone entering the front of the school must use one of 3 pedestrian bridges. All who approach can be seen by those inside, and the doors will be kept locked.
The old school was torn down after a gunman fatally shot 20 first graders and 7 faculty and staff in 2012. The new one stands on the same property, but not in the old footprint. There will be no on-site memorial for the victims, and a decision was made to keep the school's same name.
We are proud to be Sandy Hook School. We're part of our Sandy Hook Village community, part of Newtown. And the fact that a horrible thing happened here does not erase the wonderful things that have also happened here in our 300-year-old history of our community.
School begins August 29th. Officials hope all the colorful details and thoughtful touches that the community had a hand in designing will make the new Sandy Hook School a place of learning and laughter. Marley Hall, CBS News, Newtown, Connecticut.
So they demolished the school, rightfully so, rebuilt a new one. I don't think in Parkland they demolished the school. Like, I wonder how soon they went back with Parkland. Like, when did school resume at Parkland? Like, the Stoneman Douglas High School. I found an article here by NPR. 2 weeks after.
Classes resumed today at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, exactly 2 weeks since 17 children and adults were killed there. Not every student was ready to come back. Some are still recovering from their injuries. But most kids did show up, eager to resume some sort of normal routine, as NPR's Greg Allen reports.
When students arrived this morning, they were greeted by a throng of news media and hundreds of law enforcement officers. The officers were there to send a message that Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School is now one of the safest schools in America. Many of the students, like senior Maria Stevens, said they were ready to go back, but were still a little anxious.
Yeah, I'm nervous. But not about the security, because I know we're going to be safe. It's more about the energy that is going to be around.
Here's her friend, Lucia Salmon.
There's going to be like a lot of confusion and like sadness and stuff like that. That's going to like remind us, but at the same time help us. So it's very confusing for us.
Today, students began the day by returning to their fourth period class. That's the class they were in and the students they were with during the shooting. Salmon said one of the worst things about going back to school is the people you'll no longer see in classrooms and the hallways.
The friends that we lost in the classes, I have like 2 of them in my classes, and it's going to be very off seeing the teachers in there and the students sitting in there and not them. So it's going to be very difficult for that.
The building where 17 people were shot and killed 2 weeks ago will no longer be used. It's going to be demolished and replaced. With less space available, school administrators had to draw up a new master schedule to find rooms for all the classes and students. There were some 150 grief counselors on hand today to help students, plus lots of therapy dogs, also ponies, and a goat. The school superintendent in Broward County, Robert Runcie, says the therapy animals and the counselors will be there as long as students need them.
The words I would use to describe this week are flexibility, support, and love. That's what we're trying to provide to our staff, our students, to get through this period, to work our way back into some sense of normalcy.
Runcie called today's resumption of classes at the high school a major milestone. He was especially pleased with the turnout. All but 170 of the school's nearly 3,300 students returned to classes, an attendance rate of 95%. The school district has told students and staff it will facilitate transfers to other schools. So far, Runcie said, only 15 students and 4 employees have expressed interest.
So they did demolish the Parkland school. They waited 2 weeks to go back. I hate that it said that one thing, though, where it was like, Stoneman Douglas, now one of the safest high schools in the country. Well, what difference does it make now? 17 people are dead. It's safe now. It's a little too late, people. I didn't like that statement in this article. It's like that was a dumb thing to say, in my opinion. Now, one of the safest schools. Well, 17 people died 2 weeks before they said that. Doesn't matter what now is. It's too late. That student was like, well, I'm not worried about being safe. I'm worried about the energy I'm going to be around. Couldn't agree more with that statement. Just ridiculous. And I didn't understand part where they're like, yeah, they'll have goats and donkeys and things there. Like, that's supposed to make them feel better? It's confusing to me. I saw Miss Stewie mention this in the chat, so I just wanted to bring it up. Suspended teacher said shooter should have pulled the fire alarm as a diversion. Can you believe a teacher would say that? A Michigan teacher has been suspended after allegedly telling his class that the Oxford school shooter, Ethan Crumbley, should have pulled a fire alarm as a diversion so he could fulfill his hit list. In the wake of the Oxford shooting, which left 4 dead, Hopkins High School and Allegan County reportedly sent out a memo designed to assist teachers in talking to their students about the tragedy. But according to News 3, one teacher took it too far. Hopkins High School principal, Ken Pansky, said that's a weird name, isn't it? Pansky said the comments referenced physical violence and weapons on the day after the deadly shootings at Oxford High School. One parent told the station that the child was in the teacher's class on Wednesday. The things he said, how he would have committed the act differently with detail, is extremely scary. That he would have pulled a smoke detector so that he could create a distraction in order to carry out his hit list and kill the people that he would need to. It was gut-wrenching devastation that a grown adult would mentally harm our children this way. The person with the weird last name called the teacher's comments insensitive and off script, and they reportedly led to rumors that an employee planned to shoot the school up on Friday. The district superintendent sent a letter to parents saying that the rumors stem from an inappropriate classroom conversation, and now parents are calling for the teacher, who reportedly is on leave, to be fired. Zero tolerance. He should absolutely not be back teaching anywhere. So That's wild. It sounded like it was from a different school. Grandma Patty says, the rod and reproof give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. Proverbs 29:15. Thank you, Grandma Patty. The world's wisest, richest, smartest person said that. A child left to himself brings shame to his mother's. Thank you, Grandma Patty, for that super chat. Cannot believe that's crazy. Let me see where we're at in the poll. I asked the question, should the school be demolished? 69% of you said yes. By the way, if you ordered the Don't Stop book from my website, you should be getting it any day now. Like, I sent them out a while ago. Everybody seems to be getting them. And one of them, I felt so bad. I don't have any control over it. Obviously, you guys know things happen, but their envelope was empty, like the book had fallen out of it. So I feel really bad. If you happen to get your book and it's just an empty envelope, I'm so sorry. I will let me know immediately. Like, send me a message. I will help you figure it out. I'm so sorry that happened. Avery says Ethan should be in a psychiatric institution, not jail. I don't think a 15-year-old should be in an adult prison or jail either. It's like, I totally agree, Avery. It just makes my heart broken. It's not excusing what he did. It just is a bad situation. Kim says, got mine from you today. Contest winners should start getting theirs today or tomorrow as well. Okay. Thank you, Kim, for sending that out and just helping out in that way. Was yours in the envelope? Like, was everything there? Was it in good condition? Kristen says, do you think Ethan would not have done what he did if he had went to therapy? I would hope he wouldn't. Can't help but wonder if his mind is made up. You know, I'm searching for the video of him as a kid because, yeah, here we go. Like, just see if I can find that part. I can't hardly watch that video right there. I'll tell you that much right now. Oh my goodness. Do you guys know I'm talking about the Ethan Crumbley kid video? I think I have it on my computer. Let me see. Share video file.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to
this kid here, how old is he here, would you guys say? Between 9 to 11 years old? This kid here is Ethan Crumbley. So, Kristen, to answer your question, I would say something very dark happened from this moment to the mugshots that we see. Something very dark had to have happened. So I think therapy could be a part of a help, and that would have helped prevented it. But I think something deep spiritual needed to be a part of it as well. I think it was both. So sad. I mean, it definitely could have been prevented. And some of the prevention would have been removing him from the situation. Anytime that a kid makes a threat like that, we've got to take it serious and remove. He has to be removed. Elizabeth says, I got mine. Yeah, I'm so excited. Yay, Elizabeth. Glad you got it. I hope it was in great condition. Grandma Nancy says, praying for better health. Are you in East, West, or Middle Tennessee? I'm in Middle Tennessee. I am in Middle Tennessee. Thank you for praying for me. I need all the prayers I can get. Every time I think I'm a little bit better, it turns out I'm not. You ever do that? You're like, I think I'm better. And then you're like, actually, I'm not any better than I thought I was. Kim says, seems like he must have had issues with anger management. It's like that little kid that I just showed you. That's his mugshot a few years later. And those parents that are sitting next to him had a lot more to do with it than we realize. Those parents sitting next to him are a lot of the problem, in my opinion. Could you imagine being the principal, the one who's making the calls on some of this stuff? My gosh. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? To think about. Do you guys think Alec Baldwin should face criminal charges? I know that's a change of subject, but I just, again, like I wasn't even trying to pay attention to
Should
that
Alec
story
Baldwin
until the reason I started paying attention to it was because that interview was so strange that I felt like he gave.
be worried? Here to discuss, actor, filmmaker, musician, and firearms enthusiast, perhaps best known as Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard, the one and only John Schneider. Welcome to the showroom.
Well, my goodness, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. What an unusual position to have wound up in here. You know, it's fascinating to me that I honestly believe that if this had happened to anyone else, that they would have immediately said, "Oh my God, look what I've done." Right?
Yes, and they would have shown some contrition.
There would be a group of, say that again?
They would have shown some contrition. You know, they would have shown
Well,
some
absolutely.
guilt.
And there would have been a cadre of people behind them saying, no, 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 it's not your fault. None of it makes any sense. Absolutely none of it makes any sense. The interview the other night was embarrassing. It was foul. In my opinion, it was disgusting.
So you liked it. You want to watch it again?
It's just against everything we know about humanity.
I would ask you this, because you've obviously you've used firearms on all sorts of sets throughout your career over the many decades. You know what it's like to be trained to use those firearms properly. You know, to treat every weapon as though it's loaded and dangerous. You know all of those things, but also you know that sometimes you shouldn't do an interview. Sometimes you shouldn't sit down because you can open yourself up to more liability. Do you think he did that sitting down with
which
George?
I think he did. I think that he caused himself tremendous hurt, and it needs to be investigated. Obviously, they are investigating it in New Mexico. They're investigating it thoroughly. But my concern is that it started to take a turn toward Alec, the victim. And to his credit, in the beginning of that interview, he said, "I'm not the victim here." But then at the end, when he said, "I certainly don't have any guilt, no, 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 not me," then, you know, that kind of threw that out. So there are so many inconsistencies and so many things that we are told we need to believe. For example, 3 professionals, a armorer, a first AD, and an actor who's been acting very well for a long time, none of them checked the weapon. That's very difficult to believe. No one in a crew of 20 or 60, I don't know how many people were there, no one in the crew, to include the director and the cinematographer whose life was lost, No one said, hey, before you pick that gun up, show me that it's empty. Nobody did that. I find all of this very hard to believe. Then when Alex said that he didn't know that he had fired a shot until 45 minutes later, I think that's what he said. I might be misquoting, but I think that's what he said. If you fire an actual 45 round without your finger on the trigger, which I don't believe is possible, but if you were to do that, the recoil on that weapon is I just talked to Steve Wolf about an hour ago, who is the gun expert that everybody's listening to. If you were to do that, that gun would fly out of your hand and probably hit you in the forehead.
So interesting. Grandma Patty, are you there?
Oh, hi, I'm here. How are you?
you?
I'm doing good tonight. You know, I had a couple questions. First of all, I was going to change my avatar until I got my book, but I said, no, that wouldn't be nice.
I like it. You should be getting your book like any day.
Okay, I'm waiting. This is my other question about the parents, the Crumbleys. Okay,
Yeah.
so she said, don't do it. What did she really, I mean, what did she mean? Don't shoot up the school? I mean, how would she know that? What was she? Do we know what she meant when she said that?
Yeah, she meant, I am assuming she meant don't shoot the school because she sent that text message after she had been at the school meeting with the principal where they were confronting the parents on the journal drawing that Ethan had made of him shooting the school up.
So she did have an idea at the meeting because we don't know everything that happened at the meeting.
Nope.
Okay, so when she said don't do it, I was kind of shocked. I thought maybe it was something he said at home. I'm going to shoot the school up one day or something. But it's so interesting when a child, you would think the opposite would happen, like what I had quoted in Proverbs, that if you give a child everything he wants, he'll be really sweet and good. But actually, it makes the child angry that someone's not disciplining him.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes. That's what people don't understand about teenagers, that they love to have the guardrails and they're going to push against them. Like I heard a guy talk about it. Like if you go to set on a roller coaster and they put the things down on you, you're going to try to push up against it to make sure it's secure and safe, right? I do that. And that's sort of the role of parents. It's like kids are going to push against it, but they want to make sure that you're going to be standing there.
Right. And her text, LOL, next time don't get caught.
Yeah.
Was like a friend, like something not a parent would say to a child.
Yeah, that, and Shelly just sent a super chat and said, however, did you notice her previous text to him? Thank you, Shelly, for that super chat. And thank you, Patty Davila, who sent a super sticker. Thank you, guys. Yeah, so what happened was on Monday, he got caught like Googling ammunition during school. And so he got in trouble over that one. They called and left a voicemail for her or whatever. And she texted him and was like, hey, next time just don't get caught, LOL. Talking about Googling ammunition. And then the next day is whenever he got in trouble for drawing the pictures.
Who does that? Don't get caught. And look what happened. They got caught.
I know, and they got caught. It's a mess, right? And I think you have to have something really either deeply spiritually wrong with you,
yes,
or deeply mentally wrong with you, or both.
Or both.
To be able to do that.
Wow. Okay, so thank you for that information, and God bless you guys. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Patty. Ultraview says my mom would have just grounded my butt for a long time. Yeah. Kim sent me Alec Baldwin with his daughter video. I don't know what this video says, so let me put it on the screen. It doesn't. Kim, does it have any? Is it anything inappropriate in it? I assume it's not, or else you wouldn't have sent it to me.
Tell you something, okay? And I want to leave a message for you right now, because again, it's 10:30 here in New York on a Wednesday, and once again, I've made an ass of myself trying to get to a phone to call you at a specific time. When the time comes for me to make the phone call, I stop whatever I'm doing, and I go when I make that phone call. At 11 o'clock in the morning in New York, and if you don't pick up the phone, at 10 o'clock at night, and you don't even have that goddamn phone turned on. I want you to know something, okay? I'm tired of playing this game with you. I'm leaving this message with you to tell you, you have insulted me for the last time. You have insulted me. You don't have the brains or the decency as a human being. I don't give a damn.
Okay, I don't want to play that because it's not very appropriate, but you can just tell that there's some definite inappropriate language that's happening to his 11-year-old daughter. It's just heartbreaking. Again, it's just building a character case against him, like he's not a model citizen. I still don't think he did it on purpose, but it just makes you skeptical of, it makes you really skeptical of the, of the interview that took place. Chris says, to be fair, he's struggling with divorce and drinking all the time. There's no fair about it. There's nothing ever to be fair when it's involving children, in my opinion. Ever, 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 ever. It doesn't matter. There's no excuse ever involving children to treat them that way. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. Ever. There's no to be fair. Ever. Kim says, I'm sorry, I forgot there was language at it. I thought he was just screaming at her. It's okay, Kim. I forgive you. I know you would not have done that on purpose to me. And it just, I just don't want to play that. So I'm sorry, guys, for playing that. But we don't even need to listen to it, honestly. We've listened to enough of it to say you should never have a conversation with your kid like that. Okay. I wanted to look at some of these deaths and school shootings. So this is in the 2000s, April 16th. Kim says, I am so sorry. Don't feel bad, Kim. You didn't do it on purpose. It's okay. It happened. The accidents happen. Okay, so it's not that big of a deal. Okay. So in 2007 at Virginia Tech, 33 deaths. Red Lake, Minnesota. I don't remember the Red Lake one. 16-year-old Jeff Weiss. I don't remember that one. Okay. Scroll down to the 2010s. Obviously, Sandy Hook Elementary School. December 14th, 2012. 28 deaths. Parkland, Florida. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. 17 deaths. I don't remember this one from 2015. Umpqua Community College. I don't remember that one. 10 deaths. Santa Fe, just shortly after the Parkland shooting, 10 deaths. The school was evacuated because the fire alarms were pulled. A gunman fired multiple shots. 17-year-old Demetrius. Okay. Scroll down to the 2010s. 20s, I mean. Oops. Oxford Township, Oxford High School, 4 deaths. Commerce, Texas, at Texas A&M. In Albuquerque in August, a 13-year-old killed another 13-year-old during the lunch hour. I didn't even know about that one, August 13th of this year. It's a lot of school shootings. Would metal detectors in schools at this point be considered invasive? No. I don't know if they're effective, really, but I don't think they're invasive. Listen, when it comes to being on public places, I want them to go above and beyond. When I'm getting on an airplane, I want them to go above and beyond. When I'm going to a stadium to watch a football game, I want them to go above and beyond. Just the way I am. I'm willing to submit some of my own rights so that collectively we're safer. I don't mind having to wait a little bit longer in line or whatever. It's better in my opinion that way. I don't know if metal detectors are like super effective. Like, think about this. Like, a school has a basketball game. Okay. There's 42 ways that you could bring a gun in during a basketball game and leave it at the school for the next day. You know, there's like ways around all of that. It's like, and some schools do have metal detectors, and I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's effective. Do you think Jennifer and James will end up going to prison over all this? Martha says Columbine 1999. I know the 1999s didn't show up on that document for some reason. Columbine 1999, 15 killed, 24 injured. School was remodeled in time for classes that fall. Man, that was like the first like real school shooting, wasn't it? Makes me sad thinking about it. Thank you, Martha, for sharing that. Thank you for the super chat. Julie, do schools have a right to search a backpack? Absolutely. Absolutely. I was a school teacher before. They have a right, in my opinion, to search backpacks because you're not just dealing with that kid, you're dealing with potential safety of everyone else. It's everything's searchable, in my opinion. You brought it onto their property, everything's searchable. A lot of schools switched to clear backpacks, actually. I don't know if you guys knew that. A lot of schools switched to clear backpacks. One says, why do schools allow cell phones? I think there's different philosophies on that. Like some schools, they think it's okay to bring your own device to school, and they want to teach you how to handle it responsibly. And they've seen some things that help increase, effectiveness in teaching kids, instead of that they shouldn't have devices, teaching them how to handle it responsibly. So I agree with that. Kathy says it would help if the parents would raise their kids right. I think that has a lot to do with it. Kat K said, I would never let my child go to school without a way to call 911. I don't mind people having phones at school. I don't mind kids having phones at school. I think we gotta teach kids how to handle it responsibly. Sin 70 says, my nephew had his school emergency shut down for a gun on campus. A kid brought a gun to sell it at school. That's wild. How old were they? I'm not surprised that took place. Karen, she's a producer level for 3 months. Thank you, Karen, for your big support of the channel. You said November 12th, which is one day before my birthday, 1840, which is 100 lots of years before my birthday, was the first shooting. Interesting. A masked shooter, a campus killing, and a manhunt 159 years before Columbine. Wow. Think of how long it would have taken to build these buildings back in 1840. On the morning of November 15th, 1840, the Richmond Enquirer reported the nation's first campus shooting on the bottom of page corner 2. In a single paragraph labeled Painful Occurrence, the paper said that John A.G. Davis, a beloved University of Virginia law professor, was shot by an unknown hand with a pistol in front of his dwelling. The ball was received just below the navel. Davis died. A manhunt was on for his killer. Now, almost totally forgotten, the episode bears some resemblance in the modern scourge of school shootings, from the 13 people that died at Columbine 19 years ago to the recent slayings at Stoneman Douglas. The senselessness of motive, the randomness of victims. In a retelling of the professor's death, Virginia Magazine noted this: in the early 19th century, rioting was a common practice in the United States among students who either didn't like the food, the rules, or the punishments meted out to them. William and Mary students rioted in 1802 after professors punished 2 classmates for dueling. What different times it was in 1802. Bad food, old fish, and overripe cabbage ignited Harvard's Rotten Cabbage Rebellion in 1807. In Charlottesville, that November, students at the university founded by Thomas Jefferson were not, as far as we know, concerned with cabbage. Their beef, guns. Interesting. 1840. That's a long time ago, boys and girls. 1840. I know it's off subject, but I just think about those buildings in 1840 and how hard it would have been to to build them. Let me see. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. With some of the stuff we've even have to talk about, deal with, think about.
Mrs. Crumbley went to the shooting range with her son, posted on social media saying, "We know from the facts and that were presented at the swear-to that the Crumbleys, Mr. Crumbley, purchased this weapon for his son, and that on the 27th, Mrs. Crumbley went to the shooting range with her son, posted on social media saying that it was a Mother's Sunday and that she bought a weapon for her, a gun for her baby for Christmas. It's also clear from the facts that he had total access to this weapon and that it was for him. Second, on the 29th, both defendants were aware that he was searching ammunition on his phone at school. Instead of reacting to that as a concerned parent and worried about safety, Mrs. Crumbley texted, "LOL, I'm not mad, just next time don't get caught."
Full discovery has not been available in that the court is only aware of the facts the prosecution has presented, but that gun was actually locked. So when the prosecution is stating that this child had free access to a gun, that is just absolutely not true.
And how are you pleading to count one?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count two?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count three?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count four?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count one?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count two?
Not guilty.
How are you pleading to count three?
Not guilty.
And how are you pleading to count four?
Not guilty.
Dude, this is a fucking drama, bro.
I didn't know if you guys had seen that. I thought it was interesting. Kathy says Ethan's parents left him home alone and went to bars. When? Was he a kid? I think a 15-year-old should be able to stay home and parents should be able to go out to eat and do whatever they want. But not an 8-year-old or a 10-year-old. Thank you, Kathy, for that super chat. Do you know when that was, though? How old was he? Strike Blitz says, as soon as that picture was found, the police should have been notified. The school resource officer should have been notified. I don't think the police should have been. It's so hard. When you're in situations like that, when you're overseeing 1,300 students, you're dealing with stuff all the time, every day. You're dealing with issues every day. And some of the times things sound really serious and they're not. And some of the times things don't sound serious at all and they are. And so you have to have a whole lot of discernment on how to know what's what and when. And in that situation, the school resource officer absolutely should have been immediately notified. I thought about that. Like, if I'm in that situation as an administrator at the school or a leader of the school, how do I handle it? Knowing that he was searching ammunition the day before, I had to deal with that. Knowing that he, on top of that, drew that picture. I think the way I would have handled it would have been somebody has eyes on him all day long. He ain't going to the bathroom as far as like during class or whatever. No, he's not going nowhere. Eyes on him at all times. You know. Ethan was 10. Yeah, 10. Thank you, Kathy, for that super chat. 10-year-olds shouldn't be left home. Yeah, but maybe once ever so often they have a babysitter or whatever, but it's a part of their lifestyle. That school, Kim's saying that school didn't have a school resource officer? That's wild. I've never even heard of a school that is that large not having a school resource officer. That's wild. I hope after that, I just did a Google search and it was saying that in Michigan, their Michigan House is seeking $50 million for school police. I mean, I think every school should have a police officer. Every school has a principal. Every school has a coach. Lots of coaches. Every school should definitely have a police officer. Every school has a counselor. Every school should have a police officer. So, all right, guys, we talked about a lot of stuff tonight. Let me pray for you. I'm going to get off here. And if you guys want to sign up for my daily texting, I'm going to send Bible verses out every day and other updates. You can text that number on there. It'll get you connected. And then if you're interested in the Don't Stop book, you can purchase it on Amazon.com. Just type in Don't Stop. And if you've read it, if you guys don't mind leaving a review, we've been stuck at 29 ratings for a while now. I don't know what's going on. But you can get it on the Kindle for $7.99 or even on the paperback for $15.99 if you're interested in that. And then I got some great merch. You guys are maybe getting some Christmas presents. 2 days left, 15% off of everything. We got Don't Stop hoodies in a bunch of different colors, even purple. Look at that, purple hoodie. We got a deer hoodie. That's a pretty cool picture. We got all kinds of stuff on here, all right? We got a Don't Stop Santa hat. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on this website. We got a Feller Fam hat, Feller Fam shirt, a little stuffed dog. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on this website. Look, I'm wearing the Feller Fam hoodie. It's very soft and comfortable. And I'm wearing this hat, the Don't Stop hat. It looks pretty good to me. So if you're interested, you go to tylerfellow.com/merch. So I'm going to pray over you. So Father, right now, I just thank you for every single person who's watching this channel, even at the sound of my voice. And I just declare your favor rests upon them. Your favor goes before them, behind them, You're within them, Father. Direct their steps. And right now, I just feel your Holy Spirit leading me to pray for anybody who's searching for guidance or direction, that they can call on you, and you'll give them, your word declares, remarkable secrets of the things not yet known. And I just declare that over their lives. And I pray for anybody who's watching, whose body is broken in any way, who's suffering from any kind of illness or sickness or cancer or disease. And I declare it's by your stripes, by your wounds, they are healed. And I command in the mighty and powerful name of Jesus, all of that sickness to disappear in Jesus' name. Amen.